Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Diplomatic Enclave. I am your host, Khalid. But as you know, in our program, we sometimes talk to the heads of organizations, ambassadors, and high personalities, but also sometimes we look upon issues that affect countries, that affect societies, that affect nations, and that affect all of us. Today, we're going to talk to a very important personality who's here all the way from Norway, and she's here representing a certain company from the telecommunication sector, but to talk about social inequalities that are part of the United Nations, the Sustainable Development Goals as well. It's the number 10 goal of the UN SDGs, and it's a very important goal because it removes all the hindrances that are present in different sects of the society. It brings people together in companies, in governments, amongst the nations, and to create that global impact, to create that world in which people can live in peace and people can live together in harmony. Let me introduce you to my very special guest who's here. Her name is Wenche Agerup, and she is the EVP as well as a General Counsel and Chief Corporate Affairs Officer at the Telenor Group. Thank you very much, Wenche, to have come here and to have given us the time as well, because I know it's a very short trip.
Thank you.
Wenche, I was researching you on the internet before we got to talk a little bit, and one word that a lot of people talk about you is the explorer. They call you the explorer. Why is that?
I think it's because you have to be curious. In Telenor you have to innovate, and we look for people that are innovating and that find solutions and new ways of doing things, and we need to constantly challenge ourselves individually and as a company to explore and find new ways.
All right. Well, finding new ways brings me to your career with somebody who's done law in a very short span of time. I was amazed at a couple of months in which you finished your law degree, followed by an MBA, and then your continuous turn in different companies, moving up the ladder, and finally in 2015 joining the Telenor Group. How has that journey been for you?
It's been, very, very speedy. When I look back, it seems like it was yesterday I graduated. Nothing really planned. It just happened in a way by accident. Fueled probably also because I'm competitive. I like to compete. It was in sports in school and later on doing things, focusing on what I was doing there and then move on all the time. So really many years, but condensed, and it's like I graduated yesterday.
All right. It's good to feel that, because that way you always remain eternally young in spirit, and that is the way you bring that attitude as well to whichever company you work for, and presently you're working for Telenor. There's one quote that I found on the internet, and you said, and I quote, "I like to argue and find different viewpoints." How has that helped you finding solutions in whatever field you've worked in?
Yeah, I think it's important that we never just take things for face value and don't challenge it. I also see that if we disagree sometimes with colleagues, at home, with your family, sometimes or most of the times the solutions and the outcomes are much better because we then have explored different viewpoints. So I think this is also very much linked to diversity. Having different viewpoints, different backgrounds, and exploring that as an input to decision making, it really makes what you do more robust. No, because I really think you make better decisions when you explore different viewpoints, and if you argue, you learn more and you get better insight, because then you hear what the other ones are arguing about as well.
That's true. Also, your background of law, does that help you also handle corporate affairs more diligently?
I hope so. I haven't practiced law for many years, so it's more in my DNA now. I think the way you think structurally about an issue, the way you try to find a problem and dissolve it into small bits and pieces and solve parts of it. And over time, you are able to solve the big ones. But yeah.
All right. As the Executive Vice President and the Corporate Affairs Officer at the Telenor Group that you are since 2015, You oversee Telenor's internal as well as the external communications, and you have a particular eye on the holistic efficiency of the group as well. How has the company developed since you joined it, and what was the viewpoint, what were the objectives, what was the mission that you had in mind when you joined the group?
Telenor is a company with an impact throughout different markets and regions in the world. And coming from the outside, looking at the impact that the company like Telenor within this industry that has such a huge influence on what's going to happen for the future when it comes to technology and mobile application. It was an opportunity to work for a company that has an impact way beyond the industries I had been in prior to that. And at the same time, when I came in, we saw that the telco model was disrupted in a way. Things were not going to be the way it had been in the past. So I think experience from the telco industry was a great advantage for people when they were trying to figure out how these companies were going to develop, including Telenor. But at the same time, it was a good time to enter with a different background because it was also a time where you could question everything that had been done in the past, and also ways to look at this with new eyes and not all the luggage from how it had been done in the past.
Looking at it with new eyes, that's a very important point because in this day and age, IT, telecommunication has evolved and is evolving at a very rapid pace. There's a lot of competitiveness amongst companies in all countries of the world, including Pakistan. We've got so many companies. We've got 4G now, and within a year, inshallah, we'll have 5G. I mean, imagine the growth of internet and IT and telecommunication that has come from the simple Nokia phones that we used to have a couple of years back to now the smartphones that have all the technologies. They are little computers. What gives an edge to Telenor in your point of view, and what are the different objectives that you have in mind to give Telenor that edge?
Telenor is a fantastic company in the sense that we have a portfolio where we operate in some of the most mature markets in the world when it comes to adaptation of mobile technology and innovation relating to this. And at the same time, we're in markets where you have the biggest growth and the big population, where you can benefit from being able to reach the masses and actually provide connectivity to a broad group of people and basically to the masses and not to the few. So with the growth in Southeast Asia and the mature technology and adaptation in Scandinavia, you're really able to benefit from two very good things at the same time. And I think that's a unique opportunity that Telenor has, which differentiates us from
the other groups,
from other companies. Yes.
All right. How has the progress of the Telenor group been in the years before you joined it and in the years since you've joined? And what is the innovation? You talked about innovation in your answer before that. What is the innovation that you want to bring to it as well?
It's new digital applications and being able to utilize that, not only for the benefit of profitable or being a profitable company, but actually being also able to think about it more holistically, or how it can provide better and good opportunities for the people that we connect to internet.
All right. Team spirit is very important. Whenever you work within a company or with a team, it's very important that you get to know them and they get to know you, and where you work together as one, because until that does not happen, no company can progress. And you also, and I quote, said that I look forward to supporting my team, getting to know the broader Telenor and contributing to its success. How much have you gotten to know Telenor since 2015?
I've been traveling around. I'm in Pakistan today. I just came from Malaysia, and every time I go out in the markets and meet the people and our organization, I feel that I'm becoming a little bit more knowledgeable about the company as such. But at the same time, every time I do that, I also realize how much I don't know and how much more I need to know. And I think this is never ending, because we're a big company, we're in very different markets, and we're not only talking about the Telenor internal perspective, but also the impact we have in the markets and the societies where we operate.
What is the impact that Telenor has on the societies where you operate?
The point is that we connect people. And we have a purpose in Telenor which is unique, and that is to empower societies. So on a broad scale, what impact we have is really to empower the societies where we are. We empower the people, we give them opportunities by connecting them and empowering them to find ways in life to prosper and to improve their own lives.
To improve lives of the people also brings me to entrepreneurship. A lot of people use their smartphones nowadays to start businesses, and the connectivity through companies such as yours helps them do that. In the small villages, they can open companies and get connected to anywhere across the globe and start a business on a national or an international level. When you look behind on those years when there was no internet or a very slow speed of internet to now with such a lot of technology, innovation has come into this sector, do you feel that the progress has been slow and steady or very quick? And have you adapted yourself to it?
In some areas, I think it's probably slow, and we should do more, and we can adapt it more quickly. But if you think about it's 10 years ago since we had the first smartphone, and when you see how it's now creating opportunities that we didn't see just 2-3 years ago, I think we should be happy about the speed and the fact that this is happening fast. So I think the main challenge now is to make sure that more people get the opportunity to get the benefits from this. We have showcased some examples where we actually do this by providing digital services and products to customers. In Pakistan, for instance, we have this Aamir project where today, 4.3 million customers are benefiting from a digital app where they get access to weather information, information about prices, and how to best utilize their crop and get a better outcome. So it's basically a very simple service that people can utilize in order to make concrete improvements on their small little farming business.
All right. When you talk of improving people's lives, improving people's businesses, it depends on country to country. Does Telenor's policy change from country to country and adapt itself to that as per the needs of that country?
We have the overall values and the policies. We have requirements for how we do business. This is basically ingrained in our strategy as well. We are a responsible company, and we are responsible wherever we are. But then, of course, in the implementation and execution of what we do, you need to adapt to local conditions, and it's different to operate the business in Norway and in Pakistan. So you have to be mindful that there are local adaptations.
Local adaptations in every country is very important for any company, and you've kind of elaborated on that. But you also said when you joined Telenor, you said that I'm ready to work on and deliver on our ambitious projects. How ambitious are Telenor's projects?
Telenor projects are extremely ambitious, and if I can use one example,
please,
and it relates to Pakistan. In 2015, a pilot was established, and it was a partnership between Telenor, Pakistan, UNICEF, and local governments here in Pakistan to register children that do not have an identity. A lot of people don't have an identity. It's something I take for granted. But this project and pilot actually aimed at register children so that they have an identity and an opportunity in life to hold on to. So as of today, we have registered 70,000 children in Pakistan in 2 provinces. And we will now scale it, and just by the end of 2018 we will register 700,000 children. in Pakistan, and we have said, and we said this, set this as a target globally, we will register 7 million children by the end of 2020.
That's a great initiative.
And if you think about the opportunities given to people that do not have an identity, with a single app, a simple application, we're able to do this in a few years' time. I think this is extremely ambitious, and we need to work hard every day to deliver on it. But that's a commitment we've made.
Speaking of commitments, one of the commitments at the Telenor Group is also connectivity as a means to promote cultural diversity. How culturally diverse is your company, and how do you promote it as giving the confidence to the diverse people that work for your group?
I think it's basic, because I do think that we as a company will grow and be better off if we integrate different cultures and backgrounds and focus on diversity as a means to become just a better company. We're serving customers in 12, 13 different markets. We need to talk to them, and we need to appeal to them. And if we don't understand where they're coming from, what their interests are, and backgrounds, all of that, I don't think we will succeed as a company. So I think it's important for us commercially, but it's also because we make better decisions when we...
All right. Telenor as a group has introduced many initiatives across the world, including Pakistan, including improvement in social well-being. Social inequality is something that plagues all societies across the world, and the United Nations has the SDG goal number 10 that talks about removing the social inequalities. How much of emphasis does the Telenor Group give on removing social inequalities, and why, in your point, is it important for any business, whether it be telecommunications or any other business, to give back to the society?
I think that's extremely important, and I think the way we have approached it is that we want to raise the standards wherever we are, because we are in difficult markets and there are lots of issues that we should and need to address as a company and as a player in the industry and in the societies. So by increasing the standards and committing to actually help the societies become better every day, we have left something behind that helps the societies. So if I can use an example in this area, for instance, in Pakistan, 10,000 hours was last year spent to upskill our suppliers and vendors and in the society around us. And we think by doing that constantly every year and increasing our ambitions to help others to be better, we can all leave a positive footprint where we are. Road safety, for instance, it's a major challenge in many of the markets we are in Pakistan as well as in Bangladesh, Myanmar. We work systematically to help all the people that work for us to be safe and to take safety precautions when they are driving cars and on the road, to try to limit and mitigate risks relating to road
That is very
traffic.
important, because you see around the world there are a lot of accidents that occur just because of usage of the mobile phones and texting and Snapchatting and WhatsApping when you're driving, and that leads to serious consequences. And we've seen so many good social messages come out on the internet about that. I was recently looking at one as well. Do people respond to such messages when it comes from companies such as yours to be more protective of yourself and of the environment of the people around you, whether you're driving, whether you're working, whether you're using the internet, to be socially responsible?
I do think we see response, but I do think we should be humble in this area as well, to acknowledge that this is not something that happens just after one message or one interaction. We're talking about increasing the awareness and the understanding amongst people about the importance of this. And cyberbullying, for instance, is a major problem, and it's not only a problem in Asia. It's even more so in the Western world and in the markets we operate in Scandinavia. So we do think that engaging with kids and engaging with parents and with teachers to understand the risks relating to cyberbullying and work hard to make people and also children feel safe when they are on the internet. It's an obligation we have as a company because we do provide connectivity and access, and we should also let people understand that we need to mitigate the risks involved in that.
Speaking of your commitment towards Pakistan, you have made long-term investments in Pakistan. You've increased also the investment that you've made towards the country in the last few years. What are your long-term goals as far as Pakistan is concerned?
Yeah, we spent about $3.5 billion in investment in Pakistan so far, and I think that speaks for itself. We have believe in this country and in the company and what we do here. It's very promising also going forward, and I think just looking into the new offices that has just been inaugurated, when you see this as a hub for digital innovation and technology development going forward, I think we send a signal to Pakistan that we're here for the long run, and we believe in the prosperity of this country.
Technological development is very important as well, especially for countries in this region, especially for countries like Pakistan, where a lot of people are developing themselves in the IT sector. There's a whole new market that is emerging in the country. How much of you as a group can contribute to that in the future, or are you doing something currently on that?
I think we have to focus on working in partnerships. And I think that's very true when it comes to helping solve some of the pressing issues in the world and to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals. We can only see that happen if we work in partnerships with other businesses, with governments, with NGOs and civil society. And we need to be mindful that, we can contribute with a part of what's important here. That could be, for instance, technology. But we also need to listen to the other stakeholders and figure out what they know and how they can contribute and how we can deliver jointly on these ambitions.
Speaking of partnerships, and you said that partnerships are very important for the group, whether it be in Pakistan or any other country. How much of emphasis do you lay on partnerships, on collaborating with companies and NGOs rather than working on your own and developing the base around yourself?
I think every day now we realize more and more that if we are ever going to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals in a 2030 perspective, we have to team up with partners, and we need to find new ways to work with other companies and other stakeholders to be able to deliver on it. As a company, we are used to compete. We have competitors and we fight in the market every day for our customers. But when it comes to delivering on the SDGs, I think we need to find another way to address it and think that competing here is not the solution. It's really coming together and solve it as a united force.
All right, speaking of a united force, the SDG 10 is very important to the Telenor Group. As I saw, you held seminars with the UNDP and UNICEF as well in Pakistan. You talked about that in detail on how Telenor is imposing itself on removing social inequalities along with the United Nations. Were you one of the first companies that initiated itself on the United Nations Sustainable Goal number 10?
I think we were early on realizing that this was opportunities for us to take part in something that is bigger than ourselves. So I think what we did early on was to be concrete. We decided we need targets. We need to be explicit about what we do. We need to commit ourselves and also tell others that they can hold us accountable for delivering on it. Because I think that's really how you get momentum and how you get a whole organization to work together to deliver on some important ambitions. And I think that's also why we decided to go for one goal instead of working with all 17 at the same time. We have good experience of prioritizing and putting a lot of effort into a few things, and then we can add on.
When you prioritize a certain goal, how long, in your point of view, with all your background that you've had over the decades that you've worked in organizations, how long do you feel a group like Telenor will take to completely address the SDG goal number 10 on social inequalities?
I think we have a 2020 perspective now, so we have activities this year and next year, and then we will deliver in 2020 on some specific, very ambitious targets within different areas. And then I think by 2019 we will have new goals for 2022 or 2023, and it will add on and inspire others to include new things as well.
Are your competitors also working on the SDG 10?
Yes, well, on SDG 10 I shouldn't be too explicit about that because I don't know actually, but I do know that most companies do have plans and activities relating to the SDGs. And some are more relevant than others for the different companies.
All right. Speaking of ICT, given the degree of the digital divide that exists at the moment, do you believe Pakistan can leverage the technology that is important to promote equality?
Definitely. There's so much more to be done in this area, and I think we need to use and showcase examples where we have been successful. And then use that as a way to further progress on the digital divide. Because we cannot be satisfied when there are so many people that are left out of the opportunities that the smartphones and the internet provide.
All right. Do you feel that the Telenor Group will work in that aspect as well to give access to each and every one in any society around the world to a technology that can help them improve their quality of life?
Yeah, and I mean, our purpose is to empower societies, so it's inherent in the purpose that we will provide that access and that we will help people to have the opportunities to benefit from all the opportunities that is provided by mobile and internet. But of course we cannot do the whole thing for them, so the best thing we can do is to roll out the networks and provide the access also in remote parts of the world, at least in the markets where we're present, of course. That commitment remains, and then we will work on different digital solutions that hopefully can enhance and better the situation for the big group of people.
Digital solutions for people. Now Pakistan, let's take Pakistan as an example. We've got the big cities, but we've also got the small cities. We've got the far-flung areas, we've got the villages. Has Telenor expanded to those far-flung villages, to those areas where there's a lot of scope for people to work, but they are very limited in their access to people around the world to promote their work?
And it's one issue is in Pakistan. It's the same in other markets where you have remote locations. Our ambition is to roll out and to reach people, and we go far in order to reach out to everyone. And if there are the last few, we have arrangements with the government and the Universal Service Fund, find ways and means to reach out to everyone, and that's the commitment we have also in conflict zones and in difficult areas, like for instance in Myanmar. So that is part of our strategy to roll out to these different groups. And in Pakistan, when this was launched, we actually started in the remote areas and came later into the big cities to the benefit of the big populations in the dense area. And that's part of how we think about rolling out networks to the masses. This is not for the few. This is really to enable everyone to have access to internet and take the benefits from it.
That is one of the interventions that, of course, Telenor has helped also Pakistan to give access to the people, and in that way, directly or indirectly, promote social inequality, because that is the way that societies develop. And those, because there are a lot of people in the far-flung areas who say, oh, we're not as developed, or we are very talented, but we do not have the necessary resources to do that. And Telenor and groups like yourself help in that. How much work are you putting it to make that as inclusive as possible, as of course this initiative relies on digital and financial services, which can be sometimes unaffordable or inaccessible?
I think as long as you focus on the masses and a wide distribution, you're really able to make it affordable over time. I think the digital era that we're entering into now really provides opportunities for low-cost services and opportunities that takes away a lot of middlemen and logistics and areas where you previously had to spend money. So just the pure nature of innovation here and digital services really enables people to tap in on opportunities for much less than before.
Because that brings us, of course, back to the SDG 10, that is social inequalities and how to remove that. That ties up with your motto, that is cultural diversity, and of course to promote cultural diversity. A lot of people around the world, when I talk to heads of different United Nations organizations, they say that social injustice, social inequality is a bigger issue than poverty. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, I think we acknowledge today that in this area the world is not going in the right direction. When it comes to poverty, there has been improvements over the last few years, important improvements that we should cherish. But when it comes to inequality, it's actually the opposite. And that's why we also felt the call for action in this area, because we know that what we provide, the products we're offering, is at the core of how we can reduce inequalities and actually be a positive force in this area.
All right. Also, whatever impact of any work that a group does cannot be as strong if there's not an equal response from the other side. Whenever you work in any country, whether it be Pakistan or any other, if the government of Pakistan or if the private companies or in the NGOs from that country do not support you in that endeavor as strongly as you are promoting that endeavor, then that endeavor cannot work. Would you like to give some kind of an input on the response from the different businesses in Pakistan as far as working on the UN SDGs to remove social inequalities is concerned? Have you seen a strong response from them? Because you've also met Anusha Rahman, you met with the heads of UNDP, of UNICEF. What has been their reaction as well, and how do you feel Pakistan as a country wants to develop itself to remove social inequality?
I feel the motivation is definitely there, and I think also the right partners are talking together and trying to find solutions together. I think you need to find ways to and business models and operating models that can actually help us deliver in this area, and you need to be mindful that all these players and all these different companies and partners, they have different agendas. So we just need to find the common problem that we want to solve, and I think in this reducing inequality ambition, we found a common ground where we all agree, we have the same agenda, and we have the same, we share in a way the same goal. And it's very motivational then to be able to sit down with these people with their different perspectives and try to solve so important problems.
And in that, leadership is so very important, and posts such as yours become even more important. Corporate governance has changed over the decades, over the years. It has been much more and more difficult, more challenging over the years. Do you feel that? Do you accept that? Or do you feel that any challenge that comes your way is an exciting means to better yourself as a person and a professional?
Yeah, and I like to see it that way, and maybe the first reaction sometimes is it's not. I constantly challenge myself to see the opportunities in all the issues that you have to handle, and we always say that if you have a challenge, you have to take that challenge and look for the opportunity in it. And I think that's true for the governance aspects as well. In everything that has happened within corporate governance over the last few years, there is an opportunity, and it's an opportunity to become better at what you do.
All right, becoming better at what you do brings me to the Telenor strategic direction, which you also are somehow, somewhere a part of. It is based on a couple of principles that I looked over, which were interesting: internet access, personalization, efficient operations, and leading digital positions. How has all of that worked in the benefit of your group?
I think it's business opportunities, but it's also opportunities to grow as a company and to embark on opportunities in new markets. It's opportunities to team up with other companies in partnerships where you see that you have a mutual benefit of growing together. But for us, an integral part of our strategy is that what we do, we want to do responsible. So it's not necessarily only what we do, but it's more how we do it. So we're concerned about all the things you list there, but we're even more concerned about doing it in the right way.
Personalization brings me to point an interesting factor in the Telenor group is that you give your employees the hours that they want to take. You tell them, all right, bring the results, but work as you want. Work in the hours that you want to. You want to come early in the morning, come early in the morning. You want to come a little later in the day. Put in the hours, put in the effort, and give us the results. And we're satisfied in whatever means and ways you do it, whether you do it from the office or you do it from home. That's a very different attitude towards work ethics, if I might add, and also giving your employees that space to work with clean mind, should I say, or with a certain temperament that also promotes efficiency in any group. Was that something that was on the back of your mind also when you came and joined the Telenor group in 2015?
Yeah, and I think again, this also goes back to our purpose. This is about empowerment, empowering your employee to do what they're supposed to do and giving them the freedom to find the best way to do it. You can give a direction, you can have a strategy, but I think the employees should be empowered to find that way of doing that and how to reach that on their own and in teams and in joint efforts.
All right.
So it's of course extremely motivating to work a place where you know that the purpose is about empowering the societies where you are.
All right. You talked about the SDG goals, that you'll undertake other goals as well once the work on the SDG 10 is finished. Do you feel that as a company, the goals that you have brought forward, whether it would be before you joined or since you've joined, of course, because now that you've joined, you know a little bit more about the company. Do you feel that those goals are addressed well in time and the results show also in the time that has been given to the company and to its different partners?
I think we're early on here, and I think we should increase our ambitions every year. So I wouldn't say that we're never going to finish delivering on the SDG 10 in the time frame we're talking about here. By 2030, we're hopefully there, and we're going to work hard on our end. But we're just one small company in a big world of contributors to something. So that's we have to aim high in order to deliver. That's for sure.
All right, aiming high. How high are you aiming in the coming weeks and months and years for markets such as Pakistan? What should we expect from the Telenor group or for other countries around the world, from the group in general?
Yeah, I think you can expect an ambitious company, a company that are here to explore, to seek opportunities, to attract talent, and to develop all the opportunities that comes along when it comes to the digital revolution.
All right. And speaking of all the objectives that the Telenor group has, when you've come to Pakistan, met with your employees here, the heads of different branches that are working here, are you satisfied with the way this particular branch of Telenor is working?
Yeah, I think I'm very inspired after having spent 2 days here now. We're sitting in this landmark building where it was inaugurated just a few months ago. I think it's going to be a house for innovation, for digital applications and traction of talent. I think it's going to be important for the development of Telenor Pakistan going forward. And then, of course, I've talked about the digital birth registration. I talked about the farmers' application in Agri. A lot of development takes place here in Pakistan, and these are developments that we will actually scale outside Pakistan going forward. So I think if we keep this way of being innovative here in Pakistan, I think it's a great future here in the foreseeable future.
All right, so a great foreseeable future is what you look forward towards as far as the partnership of the Telenor Group with Pakistan is concerned. Thank you very much, Wenche Agerup, to have joined us, to have given us a little bit of input upon a subject that is important not only for Pakistan but for the world, because this is a market that is very rapidly developing. This is an industry that provides jobs to so many people around the world, from the villages to the big towns, and creates an industry that will be only bigger and bigger with the times to come. And it's very important, whatever happens, that companies, governments work in tandem to promote diversity and to remove hindrances that exist between different races, cultures, so that people work together as one. And that is how, you must know, coming from a Scandinavian country such as Norway, that is how countries develop. And that has been the motto in Norway as well. That's why a country like yours has developed, and inshallah that is how a country like ours is also going to develop and prosper in the coming days and years. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That brings us to the end of this particular episode of Diplomatic Enclave. We'll be back inshallah next week, same time, same channel. Take care of yourselves and try to bring that change in society. Try to be the good person with other people and move as a society, move as a nation instead of individuals. Allah Hafiz. And thank you so very much for having given us the time.
Thank you, it's been a pleasure.